Even though this is the weakest movie of the trilogy, there's still a bit of fun to be had, because welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're talking about Naked Gun 33 1/3 The Final Insult. And yes, that does sound like a bit of a mouthful, but that is the title of the movie. And so before I get into how I feel about this movie, there will be a bit of spoilers. But just for a bit of context, I have reviewed the other two Naked Gun movies. I enjoyed the first one very much. Second one is a lot of fun. Obviously it's not as good as the original, but there's still a bit of fun to be had, so I'll link down below those reviews. But for another bit of context here, is this is actually the first Naked Gun movie where David Zucker is not returning to direct the entire movie. So you've got Peter Segal, who's known for other movies like 50 First Dates and things like that, so completely different director throughout this movie. The movie's on for about an hour and 25 minutes, like the first two movies, right, where the movies are on for about an hour and 25 minutes. And so what you need to know about this movie is that it is like this idea that Frank Drebin, played by Leslie Nielsen, comes back into the swing of things, but this time he's coming out of retirement and there's a guy trying to bomb the Oscars. So that is the very big gist of the movie. And so what you need to know as well is you have got returning characters like Leslie Nielsen, O.J. Simpson, Priscilla Presley, all of that kind of fun stuff in here with O.J. Simpson and things like that. But you've also got a character called Tanya, played by Anna Nicole Smith in the movie. There's a few other characters in here as well, like Rocco and things like that. And so what I will say is this is the weakest movie in the franchise, but it doesn't mean it's like a horrible movie or anything. Like, there is still fun moments to be had throughout the film. Like, for example, there's like the opening scene with the babies falling down the stairs and then they have to try and save the babies and things like that, and there's like O.J. Simpson at the hot dog stand and everything. So there is all of that. But I'll say the directing and the script is probably the weakest part of the movie, because David Zucker isn't directing the film anymore, it doesn't have that direct style that the other two films have. So for example, one of the things that happens in this movie is obviously Frank Drebin comes out of retirement, but then he goes to prison. But the weird thing is, Priscilla Presley and Leslie Nielsen, they don't have this strong love bond like they had in the first two movies. So some interactions with them can feel a bit awkward, a bit cringeworthy, where you just don't feel invested in their relationship anymore. So it is a bit strange when all of that stuff starts to happen. But the scenes in the Oscars where there's just silly things happening when the characters are rolling down the stairs, there's even this really funny scene where Leslie Nielsen and Anna Nicole Smith go backstage, and Leslie Nielsen tries to have an affair technically, but what happens is he starts to see something really funky down below and he's like, oh no, I hate this, and he just spews into one of the instruments, and I thought that was quite funny. And there's even this idea that Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley, they were going to have this baby or whatever, but then it turns out, if you see the end of the movie, right, like O.J. Simpson turns out to actually have her baby instead of Leslie Nielsen, which I found to be absolutely hilarious. But I will say, obviously it isn't laugh out loud funny like the first movie. Like, I would say that the second movie actually is a little bit more funnier than this movie. And that's obviously down to the script and how they wrote the film. So that's how I felt about this movie. I do enjoy the film, and obviously this movie actually gave us a very iconic meme of the facepalm, where the characters are like, they're in the Oscars, something silly happens where there's like the bomb, and like the two characters, Leslie Nielsen and the other guy, they're trying to decide how to defuse the bomb or whatever, try to get rid of it, and then all the characters, it cuts to them just going like this. And that is a pretty iconic thing in the internet universe and the culture and everything like that. So that I was like, oh, that's where this is from. It was like, that was kind of interesting how I figured out that this is where that meme is from. So if it wasn't for this movie, we wouldn't have such iconic moments like that. And so yeah, I did enjoy the film. Obviously, like I said, it's not as good as the first two movies, but I still enjoyed the film, and that is honestly how I felt about the movie. And I hope you stay tuned for more reviews like this one, because yeah, I will be reviewing the next Naked Gun movie, and maybe we'll do like a YouTube shorts on like a ranking of all 4 films. That could be quite fun. So yeah, stay tuned for more like this one, and see you for another review. The James Ryan Reviews. Bye. Do 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 do.